Most of the Gospel of John is a monologue from Jesus to his disciples, reassuring them that they will not be alone after he leaves this earth. In the reading today, Jesus puts it this way: I will not leave you orphaned. Orphaned. Jesus is not talking just about an identity here. I believe he is talking about the emotions involved in feeling left alone and helpless. 17 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. We were told that depending on how he responded to aggressive chemotherapy and radiation treatment, he had a 25% chance of living 2 more years. In fact, by receiving these treatments every 3 weeks for the next 2 years, he did live that time before finally succumbing to the disease. But for that entire time, that entire 2 years, he, our 14-year-old daughter, and I lived in a state of uncertainty and fear, never knowing what was going to happen the next day or how bad it might be. I sometimes wondered silently, would a miracle happen so that we could continue to live as the whole and loving family we were, or not? Just as Jesus described it, I felt inside as if I had been orphaned and was now just playing the role of competent caregiver and mom. I felt suddenly alone, with no one to help or guide me. I was lost. I was no longer a member of a team who worked together to raise our daughter and secure our home. My sense of security and peace with my place in the world was gone, like a puff of smoke, like it never existed. What was I supposed to do now, I wondered? And how could I possibly tackle this enormous responsibility on my own? I'm sure many of you have felt this or something similar in your lives. Maybe many of you are feeling this at the moment in this very chaotic time of life. And you know that it's a very lonely and frightening place to be. So we can all understand that the disciples of that time really needed to hear that promise from Jesus. They needed to hear, I am not leaving you orphaned. I am coming back to you. I am also asking God to send you another advocate, the Spirit of Truth, who will not only live with you, but live inside you. The disciples at the time may not have been able to take in his exact words, but I'm sure what they heard was something similar to what is recorded in Isaiah 43. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you by name. You are mine. You are precious in my sight and honored, and I love you. How beautiful. Reassurances of love, of being honored for simply being who you are, for receiving unconditional help and support. This is exactly what Jesus offered to the disciples at the time, and it is exactly what Jesus offered to me in my grief and through my challenges. I know from our reading of John that the disciples didn't get it at the time. I also know that I didn't get it either when it was presented to me. And the reason I think we didn't get it is that to fully appreciate this amazing gift and understand its value and meaning, it needs to be accepted with humility. As our confession stated this morning, in our confusion and trembling, we quickly turn away from you and turn inward to our own interests. And it's true. I think a lot of people like me, when I'm presented with a challenge, who do I turn to first? Myself. Who do I think needs to solve the issues? Oh, me. When my solutions turn into roadblocks, what do I think I should do about it? Try the same thing again, of course. And how do I wind up feeling about these failures? Unfortunately, I keep feeling orphaned, alone, and helpless. The more I try to focus on the best interests of my loved ones and me and figure out just what I need to do to accomplish this, the more I usually fail. So let me switch pages here. What it has taken me years to understand, maybe I'm just a slow learner, I don't know, is that I don't know what the best thing is for me or how to achieve it. But the thing is, I don't need to know what the best thing is for me and how to achieve it, because I finally understand and trust that I do have God's love and respect and support and guidance. I'm not orphaned, and there is no need for me to feel lost and helpless. God is not just in the church or just in our hearts on Sundays. Jesus told his disciples that the Spirit was being sent to live within us, inside of us. That's all the time, 24/7. Instead of depending on ourselves for all the answers, we could, just a thought, be humble enough to acknowledge that God is with us, within our very hearts. And if we're smart, we'll listen for God's voice to help us. None of us are in all of this, our lives, our challenges, our questions. None of us are in it alone. We have received an amazing gift that we are seriously underutilizing. This gift is not like a Christmas decoration. We don't need to store it in a closet until Advent and then put it away again after Epiphany. This is a gift that keeps on giving. The power of the love and grace of God is like none other. We've all seen what God can do when we allow that power to blossom and grow in our community. Conversely, we've seen what happens when God's love is ignored and we deny its existence. It's our choice. We don't need to feel orphaned. We are not alone and never will be. We are not helpless, so we don't need to be afraid. We are one in the unity of the Spirit of God, in all humility, let us not just accept that gift of love, but love it in return. Let's silence our own voices and listen for God instead. Thanks be to God. Amen.